Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on VMware vSAN. This is the technology that's been quietly changing the game for data centers everywhere. We're going to see how it takes that old, complicated massive IT infrastructure and turns it into something streamlined, efficient, and honestly pretty powerful. So let's dive right in. So, let me ask you a question. Does your data center feel a little, well, old-fashioned? You know what I mean. You walk in and you've got these hulking racks of servers for compute power over here, and then way over there you've got these massive, super expensive storage arrays. It's this complex spiderweb of hardware that costs a fortune to maintain, it's a pain to scale, and it just creates these walls between your teams. And that really gets to the heart of the problem, what we're calling the storage dilemma. This is the fundamental challenge that technologies like vSAN were specifically designed to solve. And trust me, it's a big one. Okay, this slide just lays it all out, right? It shows the two completely different worlds. On the left, you've got the old way. Separate boxes for compute, separate boxes for storage, and a whole bunch of different complicated tools to manage it all. But on the right, that's the new way. Hyperconverged infrastructure, or HCI. Here, everything, compute and storage, lives together on the same standard servers, and it's all run by smart software. The really big idea here is that we're moving from a world defined by hardware to a data center defined by software. So how do we make that jump into this new hyper-converged world? Well, it's time to meet the key piece of the puzzle from VMware that makes it all happen, vSAN. Now, to really get vSAN, you first have to understand this idea of software-defined storage, or SDS. Think of it like this. SDS separates the brain of your storage, all the smart management software, from the actual physical hard drives. This lets you take all those individual disks sitting inside your servers and pool them all together into one giant shared resource that your whole system can tap into. And HCI, well, that's where this whole concept really comes to life. It's the framework that takes the compute power you already know, vSphere, and smashes it together with the storage virtualization we just talked about, vSAN. And it runs them both as a single, neat package on just standard, off-the-shelf servers. Nothing fancy. It's basically the all-in-one building block for a modern data center. So, at its very heart, what vSAN does is it looks at all the hard drives and SSDs just sitting there inside your servers, and with some software magic, it pools them all together. This creates what VMware calls a single, shared, distributed data store. You know, a good way to think about it is, imagine you could take every single hard drive on your team's computers and instantly merge them into one gigantic, super fast drive that everyone shares. That's really the core idea. Okay, software magic is a fun way to put it, but how does this stuff actually work? What's really going on behind the curtain? Let's pop the hood and see what makes vSAN tick. So the fundamental building block of a vSAN data store, the Lego brick if you will, is something called a disk group. Every server in your cluster gives one or more of these groups to the pool. And as you can see, it's a pretty clever combination. You have one really fast flash device that acts like a cache. Think of it as an express lane for your data. And then you have one or more capacity devices, which can be SSDs or regular spinning hard drives that give you the raw space. This design is absolutely key to how vSAN performs so well. All right, so let's say you create a new virtual machine. What happens? Well, vSAN follows this simple four-step process. 1, the VM is created. 2, vSAN breaks down that VM's storage into things called objects and components. Just think of an object as the VM's virtual hard drive, and the components are the little pieces of that drive. 3, it intelligently spreads those little pieces out across different servers in the cluster. This is huge for both speed and safety. And finally, 4, it applies the specific rules you set up for that VM. And that brings us to, honestly, one of the most powerful features in vSAN, Storage Policy-Based Management, or SPBM. This is the set-it-and-forget-it superpower of vSAN. You just define what you need in a simple policy. For example, you can say, hey, this application is mission-critical, so I need 2 full copies of its data at all times, no exceptions. You apply that policy, and that's it. vSAN handles all the complicated work of placing the data, protecting it, and making sure it stays that way, all automatically. It is a total game changer. So we've covered the how, which is cool, but now for the most important question, the why. How does all this techie stuff actually translate into real-world benefits for you and your company? Let's break it down. It really boils down to these 4 key advantages. First, your management gets so much simpler. We're talking one screen to rule them all. Second, scaling is a piece of cake. Need more space or speed? Just add another server. It's that easy. Third, It's way more cost-effective because you're using standard hardware, not those crazy expensive storage arrays. And finally, you get amazing performance because the data is kept close to the compute and uses all that smart caching. It's a win-win-win-win. Let's just focus on that simplicity point for a second because this is a really big deal. With vSAN, you have just one interface, the vCenter you already know and use for your VMs to manage both your compute and your storage. I mean, think about that. The days of jumping between 5 different management tools for all your different hardware are just over. It's all in one place. And this quote right here, this really gets to the heart of the money-saving part. The whole goal is to completely get rid of the need for those expensive, specialized external storage arrays. Instead of buying a purpose-built SAN, you just use the disks that are already sitting inside the standard servers you were going to buy anyway. This just fundamentally changes the economics of running a data center. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and just look at the bigger picture. vSAN isn't happening in a vacuum. It's part of a much bigger trend, a huge shift toward a software-defined future. So where does this all take us? What's next? You know, the big thing to take away from all this is that VMware vSAN isn't just another storage product. It's really a foundational building block for creating a modern, agile, and truly software-defined data center. This is the kind of engine that's going to power the next generation of IT. And that brings us to our final thought for the day. As technology keeps accelerating, the most important question you can ask isn't just, does my stuff work today? It's, is it simple enough, agile enough, and scalable enough to be ready for whatever comes next? Is your infrastructure really built for tomorrow?